I remember walking. Yeah, we're walking around in LA. My right toe was still trying to recover from that
7-hour walk that I put you on. Gotta go get one more. I gotta thrift one more shop. Please, Carl. I just gotta thrift one more shop. Yeah. Please. We live below the fold. We live underneath those incredible brands.
What is the vision? Right? So like there's a story, but then it's like, where are you trying to go? If it's compelling enough, then you start to get people to believe in it.
Another year, another trends episode, eh?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Let's jump into 2025 trends. Oh, we're 2 months deep. We got 10 more to go.
Yep.
Why don't we just fire away at kind of what we're seeing, what is going on in the background. Not a ton of production, I don't think, really, for anybody so far this year. I mean, so help me God, but
we're trying.
There's a lot of product development going on. Yeah. Garment choices going on. So go ahead, Carlo.
There's a lot of opportunity.
Why don't you kick it off? Like, what are the trends that we're seeing that we feel are going to kind of drive the style, the look, garment? You can go into decoration, go crazy.
Yeah, we'll throw out some ideas, but I definitely, back to like, this is the slower season, right? We're all trying to crawl our way back to the busy season, which I see it. It's like the light is there. It's definitely coming. A lot of opportunity. And that's kind of how we get a pulse of how things are looking. Like, are we doing a lot of estimates? Are customers reaching out? And it's definitely there. It doesn't help that it's literally,
5 degrees?
20 below right now in Chicago, but it's sunny somewhere, as we say. Maybe Daytona.
Yeah, Florida's sunny.
Yeah, Florida's sunny.
Yeah,
for sure.
Send it there.
Central Florida, it could be just
as
cold.
Cool. Yeah.
It could be just as cold, but
cool.
There definitely is a lot of opportunity. It really depends on who you talk to. Some people have that doom and gloom mindset. We certainly don't have that here. You really can't, right? When you're running an organization of a certain size, you have to be optimistic, or as some like to say, pessimistically optimistic.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so
Thank you.
There is a down, like it could happen, but I don't know, you come with that mindset sometimes.
Of course.
Set us straight a little bit. And
yep. Thank you,
reality.
LVMH.
Yeah, bring the reality. But there's definitely a lot of opportunity. I know you wrote down a few ideas that you wanted to talk about too.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff I was going to get into was like community building and brand building and stuff like that. I'm just seeing a lot of brands coming through and making a little bit more of a connection with their audience, right? And I know there's going to be some future episodes that we talk about the word merch and kind of what we think that's leading to and how that's changing a little bit,
Yeah, so the artist formerly known as.
Yeah, we can allude to it a little bit. I know we're not going to talk much of it on this episode, but the artist formerly known as merch and kind of what that means. But I'm seeing a lot of community. I'm definitely seeing brands connect more with the audience, and whether that's with like drops or whether that's with exclusive merch, I think that's always a good way to kind of build that awareness with exclusivity. Are you seeing a lot of that with exclusive and that type of drop?
Yeah, I think I like how you coined that. The artist formerly known as merch. I think that nailed it. I think what we are seeing more and more is the artist or the entertainment, right? Think like the UFC or WWE move more and more away from merch, meaning here is my logo. I'm putting it on a product, and further into this is actually a lifestyle, and the brand that represents the lifestyle. As you know, I'm a huge WWE and UFC fan. More UFC. I'm sorry, I have to say. Every Saturday, my daughters are so happy that they have to watch an entire UFC with their eyes like this, because like Sean Strickland's bleeding all over the place. Broke his nose off, and I'm just like jumping on the couch and going crazy.
To watch.
Yeah, of course. Good dad I am.
Keep them strong.
But you could see that the product line is not something that just like has the UFC logo on it. The product line has all of the stars on it, and people find their hero in one of the fighters, like I have with Ilia Topuria. You start to look up to that person, and you would wear something that doesn't necessarily just have the brand of UFC on it.
Right.
You know, it has his slogan on it, or the colors, the Spanish flag, you know, like the Georgianian, yeah,
Something like that.
the Georgianian flag, or, you know, like it's we're creating brands around individuals or companies. And so I think it's official. We could call it the artist formerly known as merch.
Formerly known as merch. Yeah, I like it. And I know we're going to dive deeper into that, but yeah, even with that, like you start to build that community, that exclusivity a little bit also. And then like, I feel like these brands that really connect with their audience, they have a little bit of like a rebel spirit,
Yeah.
you know? And I do at some point, we should definitely dive deeper into like our story of how we
Yeah.
started with Shy Clothing. That might be for another episode that we,
Yeah, I mean, we could do
you know,
some of it here.
yeah,
I mean,
let's go into a little bit because like, you know, a lot of people don't really know like our like beginning story with the Shy Clothing, which obviously still is the parent company today.
Yep.
But you know, we had a clothing brand, right? And back then we had a store in Wicker Park, and we were very heavy in the music scene and the club scene and nightlife. And it's funny, I'm starting to see a lot of like podcasts come out right now with the Chicago
yeah,
scene.
you were telling me.
Yeah, which
I
is
gotta-
cool.
I gotta
Like,
check it out.
I'll-
Can you give a shout out?
I don't have the name of it, but I do know like they had some hats.
We'll put it in the
Yeah,
notes.
I was
We'll put the name in the
talking to
notes.
Michelle about it. They were wearing hats, which is connects to this whole thing.
Yeah.
Is because there's apparel and lifestyle, but they were wearing hats called something like Chicago Juke is back, or Juke scene is back. Obviously,
Yeah.
relating
Never
to
left
house
for
music.
us, but
yeah, we're
yeah.
still house music house heads, you know, if you will. But I really connected with that, and I'm sure you would have too when you do see
Yep.
it as like they're talking about all these clubs that people used to go to, and that's kind of how we started.
Yeah.
And I kind of mentioned to a few people like the guerrilla marketing back then. There, you know, Facebook may have just started off right at that point.
Like MySpace,
We were
yeah,
in
a little
the
bit.
MySpace.
Yeah.
You know, we're kind of showing how old we are right
Yeah.
now. But
Tom.
man, we would go and like, you could joke, but it really, if any club, any bar, any restaurant in Chicago back then, you go into a bathroom stall, you go into like the front door, you walk down the street, there's a Shy Clothing sticker stuck somewhere.
A pair of dog tags hanging, you know, dangling from the front door or something
A
like
pair
that.
of dog tags somewhere, or I go to an airport and you see someone wearing a Shy Clothing shirt, like that's like, oh shit, like you see each other, like damn, right there is it's an exact connection because you knew
Yep.
exactly what that story meant and where it came back to. So, you know, sometimes you have to look back and at how you started and go back to the old school guerrilla marketing type of things. you
Yeah,
know?
and I think, you know, culture goes in evolution,
Yeah.
just like bell bottoms. You know, Kendrick just brought that back, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's just like everything is cycles. And you know, I even, you know, date back. I'll take something, you know, that our grandpa told us, is that a piece of apparel is the greatest pound for pound marketing dollars, hands down, will ever be created.
Yep.
The Super Bowl ad, yes, it gets a lot of eyes, but it's once and then it's gone. It disappears. A billboard, you only drive it by once a day. But that Culture Studio Carhartt collab that you got on right there, I gotta stare at that thing all day. You know, while I eat my poke bowl, I gotta stare. I gotta
eating your banana.
yeah, I gotta stare at that thing, all day. And you know, they're like, it does go back to while we're saying, you know, the artist formerly known as merch, is that, you know, people are taking an incredible amount of pride in what they wear. And when you meet somebody for the first time, what they're wearing, of course, you know, has a huge inclination on who that person is,
100%.
right? Like, or even like the military brands, like the military streetwear brands, right? I mean, you know, do they have the most incredible materials, or like it's not 100% cashmere or anything like that? It's just simply saying, you know, this is who I am. I have a military background, or I'm a patriot and I love my country, you know, and you meet other people in that way. It's a conversation starter, you know, having a brand that you believe in.
Yeah, it's a deep emotional connection, right? And like, but the hard part is how do you build that, right?
Yeah.
'Cause anyone can
Yeah.
make a hat that says whatever on it, you know.
C'est la vie.
Yeah, you could say that, but it's like, how do you then make that deep emotional connection with your community to then they're fighting to get to the front of the line to purchase that piece.
Yeah.
Right? It might be exclusive. It might be something you're restocking, but that's the hard part, right? The hard part is trying to figure out how you build that community where you have that deep emotional connection where then they have to rock your gear. They have to rock that piece. Now, I don't have the answer to that. I know we did it in a certain way.
Are you seeing what's going on with, Michelle, are you seeing what's going on with coffee shops doing pop-up salad? Are you seeing that? Yeah. So
yeah.
I think first and foremost, if we have a couple episodes coming up about, hey, from our background, how do we feel you should build a brand? This is tips, tricks on how we built a killer brand. It's been a while, but we feel like we could talk about it again because that cycle may be coming back. We're basically the rule set on bell bottoms, right? Like we know everything about bell bottoms. We know everything about guerrilla marketing, right?
We do.
And if you see what's going on with the coffee shops, right? Okay, young kids don't go to nightclubs anymore because they don't black out, they don't drink, blah, blah, blah. Totally different than our era.
Totally different. Yeah.
But they still love music and they still love experiences. So now they're doing these DJs at coffee shops in LA, and I saw one in Aspen, all over the country. And so if your brand is throwing those parties, you're creating something that they'll think about forever, right? It's an experience. Mm-hmm. It's also a way you live your life, And so that's where it's that type of guerrilla marketing, right? Mm-hmm. It's hiring incredible talent and delivering on an experience, something where you're like, I'm so happy that I didn't go to church today. I don't know. Like I didn't do something, or I called in sick to work because I had this amazing experience, or I paid a whole lot of money to be there, right? I exchanged my hard work and money for this experience, and please take my money because it was so worth it. I would have paid 10 times the amount to have this experience. That is brand building, and that really is totally on the opposite side of merch.
Totally. It's like storytelling through product, right? It's like, how do you storytell through product? Like that, what you just said, being at a coffee shop and being with your friends and jamming out to music, drinking coffee, which is kind of crazy to me, but
I like,
but that's a different, it's a whole different era, but you're still storytelling through product. And that's how it could then ultimately, there's got to be money to be made, right? Like, this isn't for free. We're all monetizing for something, but
sure.
if you want to scale it to a point where you're selling out and you're replenishing these hats and replenishing this apparel, you have to have the storytelling behind it.
Yeah.
If there is no story, there's no connection. You might have a one-hit wonder. You might be able to spray and pray, but that's it. Then you have to come up with the next sale or the next consumer that someone's going to jump on. Right.
I got a couple more for you. So. This weekend, it was my daughter's third birthday party. I had the whole family in town, and my sister-in-law's boyfriend was telling me about an incredible merch play, and we should definitely have him on. And maybe we'll link some of his socials as well. So check it out. He owns a jewelry shop, right?
Yeah.
And when you make a purchase, pending the price that you bought, depending how your investment, right, you get a certain color hat.
Okay.
And so if you're walking down the street with I don't know what the color coding is here, with the diamond blue hat, as somebody sees that and they know about it, they know the culture behind that, they're like, okay, this guy spent $250K.
He's got some status.
He's got some status here, like he bought a watch or an AP or a Patek, I don't know what it is, but that is another like incredible guerrilla marketing, brand building, exclusivity. Another one that I really liked what we did with the Chicago Cubs this year. If anybody didn't get to see some of our socials, so the idea that the Cubs came up with was when you go to pick up your season tickets, you get assigned your seat number. And so right there, after you got your seat number, the next station right next door, we embroidered your seat on the side of the Cubs hat. Yep. And so another like status thing, like if you're walking around in the city, or even more so, like if you go to Boston or something like that, and you see like section 100 seat row 1 through 6, you're like, oh my, this guy's got to be important. It's kind of like the Dubai license plate. Like you got Dubai plate 1, then you're a prince.
Status.
Right, you're a prince.
It's exclusivity. It's that membership feel for sure.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone, or listening to someone talk about comic books back in the day, right? I'm like, that number 1 edition is the most valuable thing right now, and it continues to go up in price, and it fluctuates here and there. But
one of those kids that never touched it.
Never touched it.
Kept it in a
you can't even flip through it now at this point.
Laminated it.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
I have one last trend. It's kind of a trend that I'm going to stop doing. It was a trend, but now you stop it. I found myself saying a lot last year, many years up until this point, is that it's just T-shirts.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's so much more than that.
Yeah.
Like sometimes like
could be your livelihood. Could be your job.
It's our livelihood.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of people's livelihood. And if it's that much of a connection for their audience, it is much more than it's so much more than that. And I found myself saying, and I'm sure a lot of people in our audience and people in this industry would say it when something goes wrong. That's just T-shirts. We'll figure it out. No, it's not. It's
or was that people's response?
Yeah. It's just, no, it's not.
It's not.
It's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
It really is people's livelihoods. And so like when you start to think of it in a different way, you put so much more attention to it. You handhold it a little bit more because it is so much more than that.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna fire away. Some of this stuff is on the product side. So if you're building a brand, if you have an artist going on tour, these are products that at least we're going to say you got to at least have on your radar. One of those is definitely jerseys. Michelle knows now that it's not a see-through football jersey. It will go nameless. Who around here built one of those the last week? We're talking baseball jerseys, basketball jerseys. Soccer jerseys, definitely. I would say number 1 on the soccer jersey.
More on the authentic feel, though, too, right?
Authentic
nice
feel,
feels.
heavyweight, the bird's eye, the big holes. The authentic one, not the Nike jersey that they made. Everybody.
Because there's a cheap route to that too.
You gotta pay up.
It's authentic Bulls jersey.
You gotta pay up if it's for your brand. You gotta pay up for the quality. Otherwise, call it merch.
Yep.
The next one is we're seeing a lot of unique techniques, styling. One of the ones that we're highlighting, and each one of these hopefully can be broken out into episodes. We could go a little bit deeper, but we're talking embroidery, embossing. When I say embroidery, I'm not talking about just regular old embroidery, like lots of specialty techniques, chain stitches, super heavy yarns, embossing, with embroidery, very big. Anything but routine. Lots of big interesting specialty techniques.
Yeah, some of the embossing I'm seeing is pretty cool because it comes from R&D, right?
Yeah.
It's like not your typical embossing that you do with, I'm not even sure what machine you use.
Yeah, the way that embossing is usually done is you have to have a metal plate mold made, and then it mushes the garment together. Yep. The way we're doing it, a little bit different, but you can't tell anybody or Joey bust in here and kill you.
Yeah, that's proprietary. We're not going to say.
Okay, this is the next one. I've said this a couple times. I may be wrong. I'm notorious for that, but I do think heavy gives me anxiety. I do think that is the heavy stuff is going to start to taper off. Never thin. I don't believe we ever come back with something you can put your hand through.
Yeah.
Certainly not for my body type, but super heavy. I do see the taper.
You're gonna piss a lot of people off with that one because a lot of people just got here with heavy. Like,
too late. Sorry.
We've been talking about heavy straight up for like
4 years. Yeah, I was saying at least
literally 7 years, and everyone would tell us, "Nah, we're gonna stay with our fashion fit." And everyone kind of told us no, but we've been talking heavy for a long time. And you're saying it's starting to go a different route, and people just got here.
It's the artist formerly known as.
Artist formerly known as heavy.
The next one is sampling. Now, it's a tough world. Yeah. We do a whole episode on how sampling is really complicated. It ties up a lot of machinery. It costs a lot of money. But what sampling allows you to do, 6 or 12 units, get the photos going, get your socials going, get the product up, get lifestyle pictures on a ice rink or a baseball field or in a supercar or whatever the case may be. And that allows you to then launch that product. And guess what? If you sell 12, oh, wonderful. You have them.
Got the samples.
You got them. Ship your samples.
If you sell 12, get out of the industry.
If you sell 12, well, you could lose. Like you
Some
shoot,
lose.
you aim, you shoot. What is it?
You
fire.
You don't win every single.
Yeah, you shoot, fire, aim.
Yeah.
Right. And if you miss one, ship your samples.
Yeah.
If you sell 100, boom, speed to market. We create the product, build the product, manufacture the product, speed to the end user.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that I'm going to launch a product and I'm going to make one at a time continues to take flight and be at scale.
I like samples. If there was a production person
samples.
in the room, they probably fight us on this because it's time consuming. It's very low quantity runs. If Joey was in here, he'd probably smack us for pushing samples because it's so challenging.
We're not in the production department. You guys all know that.
What I like about sampling is not every client knows how it's made, right? They're not able. Like we're sitting in a production warehouse right now. We go 10 feet that way. We have 24 automatic presses. We get to see that every day. Someone that's creating a brand doesn't get to see that. And if they're only seeing it for the first time when it's shipping to consumers, they're going to start nitpicking and be like, well, I wish this was different. This doesn't look the way I want it. Yep. Check it out first, sample it first, make some changes, be part of the process, be creatively part of the process, and then go into production.
And launch something you're proud of.
Exactly.
The sampling, it's a little bit of an investment, but what is the payoff to launching something that you hate?
Now, just do us all a favor and give us some time.
Yeah. No,
that helps.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Last one on the product side. I'm eliminating. So you say one trend is you're eliminating something.
Yep.
I'm eliminating something which is the middle of what I'm going to say, like the style chart, right? What I'm seeing for popular garments is playing at the edges. And when I say at the edges, I mean me and you thrifting all day on a Sunday, finding the oldest possible Tesla shirt that we could find, beat up, rough. It's not a specialty dye. It's just such an old shirt. It has been washed so many times that to us it looks like it was specialty dyed, but it's just. So I'm seeing the edges are 1970s Tesla concert tee that somebody literally washed and wore and played, baseball in and got dirty and dusty for 50 years. Yep. So I'm seeing that be ultra popular. And then the other side, all the way at the other side of the spectrum, very high end. I'm seeing some shiny materials come into play. Think this hoodie looks like it was made in Italy. It is not worn and weathered. It is not sitting in the middle of just like a regular piece dye. It is like very, very high end looking, or all the way at the end, beat up in vintage.
I like that. Not sitting in the middle.
Not sitting in the middle. It's an extreme.
I remember walking. Yeah, we're walking around in LA. My right toe was still trying to recover from that
7-hour walk that I put you on. Gotta go get one more. I gotta thrift one more shop. Please, Carl. I just gotta thrift one more shop. Yeah. Please.
That's so funny.
Inside joke. And nobody gets that one. Right.
It's just a lot of walking, a lot of thrifting.
Yeah,
but you're right. The garment was awesome. It is crazy. Like literally that piece that we found was probably 30, 40 years old.
Yeah. And they charged us like it was.
And it wasn't cheap. I thought thrifting was like $4 t-shirts.
No,
this one was like over $100.
Yeah, it was like with tax, 190 to $90 or something like that.
The challenge for us all will be how do we make it new to feel like old?
Yeah.
That's our challenge.
Yeah, it's in the washing process. It's in what goes into the wash. Even we heard a good one while we were out there, putting wood scraps
Yep.
into the washing machine. I was like, oh,
like
that
that.
sounds like it's damaging,
That's
but
pretty cool.
good thing we don't have to clean that out.
We're gonna try it.
Yeah.
We'll definitely try it.
Cool. All right, that's trends.
Love it. Good stuff.